Welcome back, everyone, to another deep dive. This time we're looking into something pretty relevant these days. Information overload.
That's right.
There's just so much to read,
Yeah.
articles and reports and emails. It never
It
ends.
really doesn't.
So how do we deal with it all?
Well, some researchers think they might have a solution.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's called multi-LLM text summarization.
Multi-what now?
Multi-LLM. It stands for multiple large language models.
Okay. I've heard of LLM like ChatGPT, right?
Exactly.
So those are like AI that can understand and generate language.
Yeah, basically.
And they're using multiple of these for summarization.
That's the idea.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
So the researchers, they come from UC Santa Cruz and Adobe, and they published a paper on this.
Okay, cool.
And they were looking into how to summarize long, complex documents.
Oh man, those are the worst.
I know, right?
Like you start reading and then your eyes just glaze over.
And you end up skimming half of it.
Totally guilty of that.
Yeah. And even powerful LLMs like ChatGPT, they can struggle with those too,
Really?
especially the long middle sections.
The parts we all skip.
Exactly.
So these researchers think multiple LLMs are the answer.
That's what they're proposing.
So instead of just one AI trying to summarize the whole thing,
You have multiple AIs working together.
kind of like a team of experts,
Exactly.
each one focusing on different parts.
Right.
And then combining their insights.
Yeah, to create a more well-rounded summary.
Okay. I'm starting to see how this could work.
It's like having a study group for those super long articles.
Yeah, you can divide it up and then share your notes.
Exactly.
But with AIs doing the heavy lifting,
That's right.
I mean, think about prepping for a meeting with the tons of material
You could get the Q information so much faster.
and actually understand it
Right.
instead of just skimming and hoping for the best.
Yeah, this could be a game changer.
Okay, so they've got these multiple LLMs working together,
Right.
but how does that actually work?
Well, they developed a framework with two main strategies,
Okay.
centralized and decentralized.
All right, let's break those down.
Sure.
What's the centralized approach all about?
So imagine you have multiple chefs, each making their own dish.
Okay, I'm following.
In the centralized approach, you have one head chef as the judge.
The head chef tastes each dish.
Right, and picks the best one.
Okay, so it's the same with the LLMs.
Exactly. Multiple LLMs generate summaries,
Mm-hmm.
and then a central LLM chooses the winner.
So you get a faster decision.
Yeah, but there's a trade-off.
What's that?
A central LLM.
Yeah.
It might introduce its own biases.
Oh, I see.
It might favor summaries that align with its way of thinking.
Even if other summaries are just as good.
Right.
Interesting.
Yeah. So it's like relying on one critic's taste
Yeah.
to judge a whole cooking competition.
Right. You might miss out on some hidden gems.
Exactly.
Okay, so what about the decentralized approach?
So instead of a single judge, imagine all the chefs get to taste and vote on each other's dishes. It's more of a democratic process with the majority vote determining the winner.
Interesting.
Yeah. So each LLM not only generates a summary, but also participates in evaluating the other summaries.
That sounds pretty cool, but I bet it comes with its own challenges.
You're right. While the decentralized approach is potentially more robust and less susceptible to a single LLM's biases, it can also be more computationally expensive.
Of course.
It's like asking each chef to do double duty. They have to cook and critique.
Right, that takes more time and resources.
Yeah,
So it's the classic trade-off between speed and thoroughness.
exactly.
So which approach worked better? Did the researchers have a clear winner?
Well, this is where it gets really interesting. Hold on to your hats, because the results were pretty impressive.
Oh.
They found that both multi-LLM approaches consistently outperformed single LLM methods, sometimes by a significant margin.
Wow. So using multiple LLMs is definitely the way to go when you want to make sure you're getting the most accurate and complete summary possible.
That's what the research suggests, yeah?
Okay.
In some cases, the multi-LLM summaries were up to 3 times better than what a single LLM could produce.
3 times better.
Imagine getting a summary that's 3 times more accurate. That means you never miss a crucial detail in those dense reports, which could be incredibly valuable for making informed decisions.
That's huge. And it makes you wonder, what other fascinating discoveries did they uncover in this research?
One thing that really stood out to me was how well a simpler setup performed. They found that using just 2 LLMs, even in a single round of generation and evaluation, still produced significantly better summaries compared to going solo with a single LLM.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, it seems like even a small team of LLMs can make a big difference.
I guess it's true what they say, teamwork makes the dream work.
Exactly. And that's a good point to keep in mind. as we think about the practical implications of this research.
Okay.
It's not just about throwing as many LLMs as possible at a problem.
Right.
Sometimes a smaller, more focused team can be just as effective, especially when you consider the computational costs involved.
That makes sense. So, while we might not have our own personal army of LLMs just yet, it seems like this research is a promising step towards a future where we can easily get accurate and concise summaries of even the most complex information.
Absolutely. This is a really exciting area of research with the potential to change the way we process and understand information. And the best part is we're just scratching the surface of what's possible. There's so much more to explore and discover. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. We've still got a lot more to unpack about this multi-LLM research.
That's right. We've only just begun our deep dive into this fascinating topic.
And one of the most intriguing aspects is how this technology was put to the test.
Oh, that's smart. Using different types of content probably gives a better sense of how well these multi-LLM setups could work in the real world. What were these data sets all about?
They focused on ArcX and GovReport.
Okay.
ArcX is this enormous online library of scientific papers, think physics, biology, computer science, all sorts of fields.
Yeah, I can imagine. I remember trying to read a paper on quantum mechanics once, and let's just say it didn't exactly make it to my bedtime reading list.
Exactly. And that's where a tool like multi-LLM summarization could be a game changer. Think about being able to quickly understand the key points of a dense research paper without needing a PhD in the subject. It could open up a world of knowledge to a much wider audience.
That's a really cool thought, making complex scientific research more accessible to everyone. What about the other dataset GovReport? I'm guessing that one's a bit less about black holes and more about, well, government stuff.
Got it. GovReport is all about those lengthy government reports that we've all heard about, often full of crucial information about policies, economics, and scientific findings related to things that impact us all.
So important stuff, but probably not the most exciting reading material. I can already feel my eyes glazing over just thinking about it.
I hear you. But imagine if you could get a clear, concise summary of those key findings in minutes.
Okay.
It could help journalists, activists, and everyday citizens like you and me quickly understand what's going on and engage in more informed discussions about issues that matter.
That's a powerful idea, using technology to empower people and help them understand the complexities of government policies and reports. Did the researchers find that these multi-LLM frameworks were up to the task? Could they actually handle summarizing these very different types of content?
That's a great question, and the answer is a resounding yes. The research showed that these multi-LLM setups consistently produce high-quality summaries for both ArcSIF and GovReport content.
That's really impressive. It seems like this multi-LM approach could be a versatile tool capable of handling a wide range of subjects and writing styles. But did they look at anything else beyond these two data sets?
They did. They also wanted to see how these frameworks handle texts of different lengths,
Yeah.
recognizing that LLMs often struggle more with those longer, more complex pieces of writing.
Makes sense. I imagine summarizing a tweet is a bit different from summarizing, say, an entire book. What did they discover about the impact of text length on multi-LLM performance?
As you might expect, the multi-LLM approach is generally performed better on shorter texts.
Uh-huh.
After all, it's easier for these LLMs to process and understand smaller chunks of information.
Yeah.
But what's exciting is that they still showed significant improvement over single LLM methods when tackling those longer, more challenging texts.
So even though summarizing those massive documents is still a work in progress, it seems like we're on the right track with these multi-LLM approaches.
Yeah.
What else did the researchers look into?
They went beyond just overall performance and really dug into the nitty-gritty details of how these multi-LLM frameworks were working. They explored which combinations of LLMs worked best together, almost like finding the perfect team dynamic.
So it's not just about throwing any random group of LLMs together. It's about finding the right mix of personalities and skills, so to speak.
Exactly. They also experimented with different types of prompts to see how that influenced the quality of the summaries. It's like giving the LLMs clear instructions and goals to guide their work.
It's like they're conducting an orchestra of LLMs, carefully selecting the instruments and then directing them to create a harmonious and informative symphony of summarization. But I have to ask, with all this talk of fancy frameworks and teams of LLMs, is there anything we should be cautious about? Any potential downsides to consider?
You bring up a good point. As with any new technology, it's important to be aware of potential limitations and challenges. One thing that always comes up with AI is the question of bias.
Right.
While using multiple LLMs might help mitigate some of these biases. It doesn't eliminate them entirely.
Right. It's like trying to build a perfectly balanced committee.
Yeah,
You want diverse perspectives, but it's not always easy to achieve in practice.
that's a good analogy.
Hmm.
And it's something that researchers are actively working on. They're exploring ways to design these multi-LLM systems to minimize the influence of bias and ensure that the summaries they generate are as fair and accurate as possible.
That's good to hear. It seems like there's a real effort to address these ethical considerations as this technology develops. Anything else we should be keeping an eye on?
Well, we've touched on the computational costs involved, and that's definitely something to consider. These multi-LLM systems, especially the decentralized ones, require a lot of processing power, which can translate into higher energy consumption and potentially higher costs.
So finding ways to make these systems more efficient without sacrificing accuracy is going to be crucial as this technology evolves.
Absolutely. And researchers are exploring some promising approaches like knowledge distillation. Imagine creating a mini-me version of a large complex LLM that can still perform the summarization task effectively, but with a much smaller footprint.
It's like creating a more sustainable and accessible version of this powerful technology. What other exciting developments are on the horizon for multi-LLM summarization?
There's a lot of innovation happening in terms of hardware and software. Researchers are developing new architectures specifically designed for running these large-scale AI models. As these advancements continue, we can expect to see multi-LLM summarization becoming more practical and affordable for a wider range of applications.
It's amazing to think about all the potential applications, but before we get too carried away, it's important to remember that multi-LLM summarization isn't a magic solution for all our information overload woes.
You're absolutely right. It's a powerful tool, but it's still just a tool.
Right.
It's up to us, the humans, to use it wisely and ethically. We need to remember that these summaries are generated by machines and should always be viewed with a critical eye.
It's about finding that balance between embracing the incredible power of technology and ensuring that we use it responsibly for the benefit of humanity.
Exactly. As we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I'd like to emphasize a key takeaway from this research collaboration is essential, even in the world of artificial intelligence.
Okay.
By combining the strengths of multiple LLMs, we can create systems that are more powerful and more capable than any single LLM could be on its own.
It's like they say two heads are better than one, even if those heads belong to super smart algorithms. But speaking of collaboration, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on what this research means for our listeners out there in the real world. How might they actually use this technology in their own lives?
That's a great question, and a perfect segue to the final part of our deep dive, where we'll explore the real-world implications and possibilities of multi-LLM summarization.
Okay, so let's talk about how this could actually work, for people like us.
Right, like real-world applications.
Yeah, true.
Well, imagine you're a lawyer,
Okay.
and you have to go through tons of legal documents for a case.
Yeah, I can see that being a nightmare.
Multi-LLM summarization could help you quickly find those key points and clauses, saving you hours of reading.
That would be amazing.
Or maybe you're a student trying to understand a complicated scientific paper.
Oh, yeah. Those are always a struggle.
This technology could give you a clear summary, making the research much easier to digest.
It's all about making information more accessible.
Exactly.
But it's not just about summarizing existing content, right?
Right.
Could you actually use this to create new stuff?
Absolutely. Think about personalized news briefs
Oh, wow.
that filter out all the noise and just give you the important stuff.
Based on what you're interested in.
Yeah. Or imagine real-time translation tools that could break down language barriers.
That would be incredible.
The possibilities are huge.
It's like having a personal AI assistant that
Wow.
can summarize and even tailor information to your needs.
Exactly.
That's pretty mind-blowing. But I'm sure there are still some challenges, right?
Oh, of course. Any new technology has its hurdles.
Like what are researchers still working on?
Well, one of the big ones is efficiency,
Okay.
especially with those longer, more complex texts.
Yeah, we talked about the computational costs.
Right, those can be a real barrier. So researchers are looking into things like knowledge distillation
Yeah.
and specialized hardware to make these systems more efficient.
It's like trying to make a supercomputer fit in your pocket.
Exactly. We need that power, but without all the bulk.
Makes sense. So what other cool stuff are they working on?
Well, one area that I find really exciting is interactive summarization.
Interactive.
Yeah, imagine being able to ask the AI to summarize a document from a certain perspective,
Oh, wow.
or focus on specific themes that are relevant to you.
It's like having a conversation with the AI.
Right. You're not just getting a static summary.
You're actually collaborating with it to get the insights you need.
Exactly. It's all about augmenting human intelligence.
I love that. So we're not just talking about replacing humans,
It's about empowering them.
giving them the tools to understand information better.
Right?
This has been a fascinating deep dive.
It really has.
And I think we've learned a lot about the potential of multi-LLM summarization.
Definitely a game changer.
But as we wrap up, I want to emphasize that this isn't just about AI. It's about human ingenuity and collaboration as well.
That's a great point.
We need to work together to harness the power of these technologies
Absolutely.
to create a future where information is more accessible and knowledge is truly empowering.
Well said. It's been a pleasure joining you on this exploration.
Likewise.
And to all our listeners out there, thank you for diving deep with us.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
We hope you enjoyed this episode, and we'll see you next time.